So we have a few more of these left. I'm super excited. Christy Alligood is down in Florida doing two awesome, amazing jobs that is very, very different than the typical behavior analyst. She's like, I would say, the embodiment of the convergence of these areas. I'm super excited for it. This is part of our event, July 19th, 21st in Seattle. She is one of our speakers. We're talking about the enrichment process and what this is like. And lastly, thank you to our Platinum sponsor. They're the ones that are allowing us to make all of these happen. So big shout out to them. All right, with that said, Christy, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited for these. It's so cool that I get to conduct these sort of interviews as like part of what we're doing. I feel very spoiled. It's very cool to catch up. So, all right, where do we want to start? Can you tell us a little bit about like how you found the field? Go as in depth as you want.
Okay. So I found the field as an undergraduate psychology major. I think like a lot of other people, I was interested in helping kids with developmental disabilities and helping them succeed behaviorally and address challenging behaviors and learn to do things that they needed to learn. And so that's kind of what hooked me. I think, like I said, like a lot of people. And that's what got me interested in going to graduate school in behavior analysis. And then along the way, I got interested in lots of other things, within behavior analysis. So I got very interested in problem solving and those kinds of topics. And then towards the end of graduate school, I got very interested in animal behavior and zoos in particular. And that's when I kind of took off towards the path that I'm on now.
Yeah, super exciting. So where do we go here? What's your day-to-day like now? You've got two different roles. Can you describe those?
Sure. Okay. So I'll tell you my two different roles, and then I can kind of tell you my day-to-day.
Yeah.
I mean, so my two roles are I'm a lecturer at the University of Florida in the psychology department, and specifically in the behavior analysis area. So I work with fantastic colleagues there in that behavior analysis program, and I teach courses in principles of behavior analysis for undergrads, and then also a senior seminar in applied animal behavior for undergraduates as well. And
what comprises applied animal behavior? Can you paint a picture?
My course is specifically about applications of behavior analysis to animal behavior. So that's a great question, because there are a couple of different kind of ways to look at animal behavior. And I think, you can also come at it from more of an ethology perspective with different kinds of questions than behavior analysts would ask. But so from the behavior analysis perspective, it's always going to be about digging and finding out why individual animals are engaging in particular behaviors, and then figuring out ways to change those behaviors, enhance those behaviors, meet the behavioral needs of those animals, things like that. So, so this particular course goes into a little bit of the history of applications of behavior analysis with animals, and then does sort of a survey of different areas of application. So everything from pet training to zoos to what I call animal helpers. So like the rats that help detect landmines and tuberculosis, and military dogs and police dogs, things like that.
Does that history have to do with some of like the Breland and Breland work?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's such a really cool history when you dive into those, the applications. So that's one role. Can you describe your other role?
Yeah. And then the other role is behavior scientist at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I've been there for about 12 years, and I work on the science team there with another great group of colleagues. And in that role, I work with people who work with animals to help them take great care of animals and help the animals thrive in the zoo environment. So The main two kind of areas that we work in are training animals to participate in their own care. So things like medical behaviors and husbandry behaviors. And then the other side of it is environmental enrichment, which is that process of setting up animal environments to help meet their needs and help them to thrive in those environments.
And I remember when we were talking back and forth a while ago, you were saying that that's largely shifted, right? Or it's in a shift, like what used to be happening. Can you dive into that?
I think it's in that we're seeing a shift in the zoological industry from kind of this item-based environmental enrichment to more of a behavior-based. And you know, I think that it's not well defined necessarily yet, but we could think about item-based enrichment being kind of that process of thinking about, well, what can I add to this animal's exhibit to keep them busy or to, you know, give them something to do. And behavior-based enrichment is really putting the behavioral needs first and thinking about, well, what would this animal be doing in their natural environment, and how can we provide some of those same opportunities when they're in our care. And so there's a lot of, I think, that shift is happening in the industry, and there's a lot of interest in that shift, but there's not a really great consensus yet about what it looks like and how to do it. And so that's one of the things I'll be talking about.
So for coming from like the behavior nerd side of me, is there like entire little groups that are working on this, like their own conferences and like places like that everyone's connecting?
There are some pockets. So,
yeah.
It's been an interest of the behavior advisory group of the AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and certainly lots of people that that work in zoos and aquariums are trying to solve those problems and work on those challenges for sure.
Okay, what's your day-to-day like then?
So this is one of the things I love about my work is that my day-to-day is really varied. So I don't necessarily have like a routine from day to day, but I do a lot of teaching, both at UF, of course, but also at Disney. We have about 250 animal keepers at Animal Kingdom. And so I work with the behavioral husbandry team. That's the team that oversees all of the work that I was just describing, and really to carry out the vision of that program and the vision of integrating science and behavioral husbandry. We do a lot of work kind of on the back end in terms of internal staff training, and then also just working with individual animal care teams on what does that integration of science and behavioral husbandry look like for them and for the animals that they care for.
Yeah.
So that entails a lot of meetings and a lot of, like I said, that teaching aspect. And then there's some, in area work, we call it, where we go out and watch training and help problem solve and help troubleshoot and things like that. And then different kinds of meetings, so problem solving meetings, brainstorming meetings, all kinds of meetings. So.
Yeah. That seems to be everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a long journey, but if there's people that are looking to get into these, like, what's your kind of story on how you worked on, it's an amazing role. It's so cool.
Well, thank you. It's not really a role that you're necessarily going to see advertised, like on a list of job postings.
Yeah.
But I think that my best advice for people that want to get into this area is always for people who are already in behavior analysis and want to do this. I always advise them to go get some animal care experience and really learn how an animal care facility works, what their needs are, and all those kinds of things that you would do for any setting that you want to work in. For me, my path was kind of like winding, so I
Yeah,
don't necessarily know that people could follow it. But I came to work at Disney as a research fellow in animal behavior, and I worked with a captive breeding and reintroduction program for an endangered species. I did that for several years and did field work and all kinds of things that I never thought I would be doing when I was in graduate school, but gave me so many opportunities to learn and to grow. And then I was in a couple of other different roles before I landed specifically in the behavioral husbandry team and
yeah.
science department.
It seems like, yeah, it seems like these paths are always like a little bit windy, and they're
Yeah,
consist of like getting really good at a couple different areas, and then your work starts to speak for itself
I
and
think
kind
you're
of lead
right
to other
about
things.
that. And I think the other thing that I always tell people is that it's not, you don't necessarily have to be looking for a job title that describes what you want to do. It could be more about applying the qualifications that you have to a place that you want to work, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
if they're looking for things that you know how to do, then do those things, you know?
yeah, yeah. I like it. So let's dive in a little bit more into how this converges these two different areas. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like how it's bringing these areas together?
Yeah, I do. So, I always say I don't work directly with animals. I work with people who work with animals. And at the zoo where I work, we have 250 animal keepers. And so I work with a lot of people, and we do a lot of a lot of staff training and a lot of collaborative work. Um, and problem solving together and all those things. So, just as much as, animal behavior and animal training are a part of what I do, looking at the behavior of people and of teams is a part of it too. So it really is integrated.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Um, what's the role of technology? Like, how is that? Is that shifting also with all of this? Is it everywhere? Is it just coming in?
I think that it has certainly been a part of behavioral husbandry for a long time, and has maybe been applied um, not super consistently across the industry, because it can be, at least in the past, it has been more expensive to do some of
Mm-hmm.
those things. So I'm thinking of like automating, some of the animal training things and animal enrichment. So I'm thinking of, how Markowitz had automated systems for enrichment in the 70s, so that, I mean, it's not new, right?
Yeah,
But I think that it's becoming less expensive and it's becoming easier to do some of those things. So it certainly is something that a lot of people are trying to kind of take advantage of in terms of making things more efficient, and
yeah.
so that a trainer doesn't have to be there 24 hours a day in order to keep an animal's environment
Is that is that what it's kind of like? Like, is there just like someone basically overwatching 24/7?
It depends. Different institutions are using technology in different ways. So a lot of
Okay.
people are using automated feeders and using those in different ways. And then people are also developing um, systems that use RFID technology
Okay.
have animals interact with them. So there's some really innovative, neat things going on in the
I was
industry.
gonna say, it sounds. I was kind of curious, like how much sensors are used to like help you kind of track what's going on, look at anything that's like vital information.
Yeah, well, they're used all the time in the field. So if you think about like wildlife biology and how do we, it's one of the ways that we can track animals in their natural habitats, is using some of that kind of chip and reader technology.
Yeah,
And certainly that's being implemented in zoos some too.
I've seen those RFIDs applied to antlered animals to
Hmm.
make sure that they're like tracking where those things are going and what's going on there.
It's
It's
cool.
really fascinating.
Yeah, they've used it with salmon. They can put like a reader in a stream, and the chipped salmon swim through it, and they're
Yeah,
used in all kinds of ways. Yeah.
yeah. We have a question from Teresa, real quick, with Tag Teach. She said, "What kind of human animal, or sorry, what kind of human training sessions do you deliver? Is it skills training, theory based?"
That's a great question. So I assume, Teresa, that you're asking about the training for animal keepers.
I think so, yeah.
So I would say a little bit of both. So we do some skills training, primarily actually my colleagues who are behavioral husbandry managers who have really strong backgrounds in animal training are the ones who do a lot of that coaching and a lot of that like troubleshooting skills training type things. The more sort of formal training teaching sessions that we do are a little bit of both. So I'll give you an example. Recently, in the past couple of years, we've been developing and implementing a series of workshops for our animal keepers where we sort of take hot topics in animal training and talk about how they're used in practice, and then also talk about sort of the science behind them and how the two are connected and how science might help us inform best practices in that area and what we can do, you know, in each of our animal care areas to try to kind of take the next step in that application. So we've done that on things like timeouts, variable schedules of reinforcement, conditioned reinforcers, jackpots. And so I would say that those have a little bit of both theory and skill type content to them. So, and that's probably consistent across a lot of our staff training. We also have some required courses that our animal keeper staff go through. So we have a couple of enrichment courses and a couple of training courses that they go through. And there's like a little bit of theory and a lot of practical information in there.
Nice, very cool. What was I going to say? So let's dive in a little bit into what do you plan on talking about at the event in Seattle?
So I'm going to talk about that animal environmental enrichment topic that we were kind of alluding to before, about that shift that's happening in the industry from more item-based enrichment development processes to more behavior-based, and what my team and I think that could look like, and how it could be applied in animal care environments. And then I'm also going to tie that in to work with humans as well, because I think some of the same processes that we're talking about and developing for that behavior-based enrichment are important when we're thinking about our work with humans as well.
Yeah, awesome. That's like the intersection of folks coming together was like the thing that people liked the most out of that. They're like, I can see these parallels. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited to see what those are as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a last call for questions. I don't know if anybody has any, so we'll do that shout out real quick. And then do you have any final thoughts for people?
I am just so excited to meet everyone in Seattle. I hope everyone that's watching is planning on joining us. I'm excited to learn from the other speakers. So just thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if people want to learn more, we're of course going to be at our event in Seattle. We're doing a couple, it is in person, July 19th through 21st. We also stream that. This is the talk that Christy will be delivering. And I would say, if they want to learn more, can we send them to anywhere? Is there any links or anything that you're...
So for UF, for the behavior analysis program, there's, you can just go to the main UF website, ufl.edu, and navigate to the psychology department, and there's a lot of information about the behavior analysis program on there. It's a fantastic program, great faculty. And then for the Disney side, we have a couple of websites that people can check out. Animaltraining.org and animalenrichment.org have information about both kind of sides of our program there.
And just by curiosity, are you presenting anything at ABI on this topic?
I am.
Okay.
So I'm a discussant in a symposium, and then I'm also presenting in a symposium, and I am going to talk a little bit about the topic of behavior-based enrichment there, but a much shorter version than I'll be presenting.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to try to make that. I'm always excited. Sweet. I'm going to make sure to share your research profile too, because you've got a lot there. You've got some publications that we need to be sharing too. All right, cool. Thank you all I think we'll sign off there. You can stay on. We're going to link everything down below, and you're tagged in the post so you can see the comment section if anything else comes up. They usually are hopping for a couple days afterwards. So thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see you all.